live earlier than
time's
we normally
different.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Folks, how's it going? It's an hour earlier than normal, but we're live nonetheless. I'm your host, DashV, and with me today I have.
Kyle,
Hey, Kyle, it's good to see you, my friend.
it's good to see everyone again.
So,
Trying to stay warm during all this winter weather up here.
yes, as you can see from the hat and the beard and the stubble and everything on Kyle there, he has been stranded on an island with Tom Hanks for the last month, which is why you haven't
It,
seen him on the show.
it has not been easy, let me tell you.
All right. Well, now you're back home, in your nice warm pizza parlor slash bedroom.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, like it wouldn't be having you on the show unless we, talked about the home decor.
Hey, if it was really a pizza parlor, my winter body would not be looking this good. Okay, so
Oh my goodness. I gotta tell you. I'll save it for after the show. So I don't think I mentioned to anybody in the offline, but did you know that I got like last week? I got one of these.
oh, a PS4 Pro. What
Yes.
what
I
made you decide to do that?
I got the PS4 Pro Tato. So here so here's the deal, right? Like it was I actually had two. I actually had a false start. I went to GameStop once because there's a GameStop on the way home from work, and so I went there once. I'd already talked it over with my wife. We were gonna save up and get a PS4 Pro, and we got this last summer. We got this pest control service. We subscribed to, like, they're supposed to come out every month, and they're supposed to inspect things and spray and do all this like preventative
Uh-huh,
measure stuff. So they
uh-huh.
show up twice for the initial two treatments, and then we never see them again, like ever. And so my wife finally called. I'm like, you should really call and find out like what happened with that. Because meanwhile, like we've set the money aside for like what we were gonna pay.
Right.
And so they're like, huh, well, this is weird. Like for some reason we have your account on hold, but saying as like, no bill due. And so that's why we haven't sent anybody out. But we can't explain why the account was put on hold. And you don't owe us any money. So do you want us to just go ahead and reactivate the service? My wife goes, nope, never mind, it's all good. Right? Hangs up. She calls me up and she's like, so explains to me the situation. I'm like, that's kind of ridiculous. Like you didn't tell them to go ahead and reactivate, did you? She's like, no. She goes, so remember how we were gonna have to like save up a couple of months for like this PS4 Pro? I'm like, yeah. She goes, we can afford one right now if you want to just like, take the money that we were gonna pay for this like non-existent, pest control.
Right.
So I was like, oh, hell yeah. So then I get there, right? And here's what made me hesitate the first time. And by the way, Sam Demand, hi, I see you there in the live chat. Thank you for joining us 1 hour earlier. So, do you have a PS4 Pro? If yes, what made you decide to get one? If no, what's holding you back? What held me back was last month they just had some really awesome deals, right? You could get one for like $350, which is $50 off. Plus,
Hmm.
GameStop was doing this thing where you could get like 2 times the points. So you'd pay $350, but you'd get points as if you'd spent, $700, right? Which that alone would have been like a game basically free, right? So I go there now and there's like no deal. It's back to $400. There's no special, thing going on this month and everything. So as soon as I found out, like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to pay the full price, plus it's just gonna be the regular amount of points. Like it kind of like knocked the wind out of my sails, right? That the sale
Yeah.
wasn't still going on and all this other stuff. So I ended up I didn't leave empty-handed. I ended up actually purchasing this game, Horizon Zero Dawn, the
Oh,
complete
now did
edition.
you get the complete edition? Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're just gonna ask, right? So
Yeah.
yes,
I had my eye on it.
this comes with all the DLC. Now, what I'm not sure about, I'm not going to show the code or whatever. But there is an insert that says that with a digital code. I think the insert is just for the digital art book and the PS4 theme. I'm
Hmm.
hoping that's all it is. Because I really get upset, when, well, I guess upset's not the right word. I really get disappointed when something says that it's complete or implies that it's complete, and part of it is really you can only fetch it digitally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I haven't reclaimed the code, or I haven't claimed the code yet. But I did install the game off the disk. Other than normal updates and everything, I didn't really see anything that would seem to imply that this wasn't the full game.
Yeah.
So
I
later
th-
I'll put in the code and find out for sure.
yeah, I think you should be good. It seems like most of the time when they do those that they do end up putting both things on disk. So I
Yeah.
know I hate that too. I like to have it all on disk if possible.
Oh, I'm the same way. Sam Demand says he only has the regular PS4. He wasn't going to buy another PS4. That's fair enough because I already have the PS4. And so that's why. So I bought Horizon Zero Dawn. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait until you guys have another deal or something like that or some kind of sale. And then I left the store and I went home. And as I started thinking about it over the next, couple of days, it really kind of I was like, well, I'm gonna wait what, like a month, 2 months, or whatever for maybe like a sale. And the
Mhm.
sale's probably not gonna be another save $50 unless Sony actually slashes the price, right? Like it's probably gonna be like save $5, save $10 or whatever. Maybe if I'm lucky, there'll be some pack-in deal that doesn't affect the price. Right now, there's the Star Wars Battlefront 2 console that you can get that's 450. Maybe if I'm lucky, that goes to 400. But like to wait for a pack-in game that either I already have or I don't care about, also like didn't really seem to make sense. Plus, I wanted to play this game, but now I'm like, wait a minute. I'm gonna play this game that I know is gonna look and play better on the PS4 Pro,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna waste my time with it on the regular PS4 when I know that I have the means to get a PS4 Pro. So I got a second wind and I went back 2 days later and I said, okay, yes, PS4 Pro. I'll actually take one this time. And I bought it. I left the store with it. I brought it home, and you know, it. I don't necessarily have buyer's remorse. I want to be clear about that. Um, but I'm definitely not as psyched about it as I was about the Xbox One X. And the initial user experience, I have to say, was not as clean as the Xbox One X. I don't want to dominate this portion of the show. So, Kyle, I'll give you an opportunity for maybe some comments or updates on your side of the house. It could be related to this topic or a different topic, or it could be pickups, and then we'll return to why my impressions of the PS4 Pro and why I wasn't excited about it, and even afterwards, I'm still not. It hasn't gotten me as excited as the Xbox One X. So we'll get to that, but for now, Kyle, what's up in your world, my friend?
Yeah, so I guess kind of responding a little bit maybe to the PlayStation thing first. I think you'll find that there's definitely games that'll make your purchase feel more worth it. I know that for kind of PlayStation and Xbox, there's a lot of crossover and everything. Have you gotten near yet, or
I
do you just
played
have
the
that
demo
one?
actually. So if you want to go ahead and talk about it, I have played the demo, so I've got some
Okay.
I've
Well,
got some thoughts on it. But have you played it?
I don't want to talk about it too much. Honestly, I've only gotten a couple hours in, and I just haven't picked it back up yet. I I don't know. I think you might like that one.
I
I
enjoyed it
really
very much. I enjoyed the demo a lot.
now was the demo. Do you know was that like just the first hour of the game where it's like that 2D style shoot 'em up and
So I don't know what like the demo is weird and I don't think it's from that because it starts out and it's more of like a 3D style. There was a lot of like Kingdom Hearts style gameplay and platforming in it.
oh okay
There's also this big giant like chainsaw type monster that like chases
okay
you, and then he's
yeah
got two
yeah
chainsaws, and I don't
yeah
want to give away too much from the demo because I don't know what part of the if the demo is actually from the game or if it's just in the spirit of the game. But I have to say, the way they ended the demo, I was like, wait, holy shit! Like that can't you can't end a demo like that because then what the hell's the game about? Right? Like so they actually they did hook me. Like I want to play the game. I mean,
yeah
the gameplay and the platforming and everything, to be honest with you, it felt kind of repetitive to me. A lot of it felt like I've done this before, but the graphics were really good. The play mechanics were tight. I didn't not enjoy the game. It had parts that were kind of side scroller. It had parts that were like Kingdom Hearts style 3D play. It had parts that were overhead view, like a Soldier of Fortune, not Soldier of Fortune, Total Carnage,
yeah.
What's the other game there? Smash TV. So I mean, there were, and I liked how the camera just kind of like changes that perspective and games off those different genres and different gameplay styles while staying true to itself. So I mean, in that respect, it was kind of cool. But if this is definitely a case of, if it didn't have like a compelling story and if it didn't intrigue me about the characters, I probably would just play it for a couple hours and not pick it up again.
Right. Now, and I haven't talked to people too much about it, just because I feel like it's one of those games where going into it, the less you know, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of my concerns. I kind of started playing it, and I feel like the story is probably going to be really predictable, but I also, I don't know if it's one of those things where, it sets it up to make you think it's predictable and then it surprises you, or how it goes about that. So I don't know. Like I said, I was in a previous podcast, I was really surprised by how much it entertained me and how much, like, I was actually like, this is so cool when I was playing the first hour. And it's been a long time, I think, since a game's made me actually like say that playing it.
Nice.
But so I don't know. I kind of got to give that a chance too. So I'm kind of in the same boat with you there. But if you can pick it up for 20 or $25, I mean, I don't know. It might be a risk for you. We'll see. Maybe I can play a little bit more and give you a better opinion.
Yeah.
Give you an idea on that.
I think from the demo, I have a feeling we're still talking about Nier, right?
Yes.
From the demo, I think I think I'm gonna pick it up, and I think what you said is right. Like if it's like between, I'd say 20 to $30, I think it's pretty much a, why wouldn't I bother to pick it up? So the main thing I want to do though is I want to take a look. I heard, but I'm not sure. I heard that it's actually coming out for the Xbox. The Xbox One. So if it is, one of the things I want to see is if it's going to be Xbox One X enhanced.
Yeah.
Because if so, that's definitely the platform I'm going to want it on. The graphics look just fine on the PlayStation 4. But I guess I'll give one of my little pet peeves about the PlayStation 4 Pro, and why I call it the PlayStation 4 Pro-tato. Like, I love potatoes, but they're kind of plain, they're kind of bland. Like, I love them in spite of the fact that they're potatoes. I love them for what they can be when combined with other things that are excellent, like butter, broccoli, corn, right? Like potatoes by themselves are all right. Garlic especially, right? Like, but potatoes, when you combine them with other things, go from being bland to being amazing, right? Sam Demand says you guys should make a gaming channel. I know, here I am, I'm talking about like potatoes, right? Last episode, oh Kyle, like one episode I was actually giving people advice on like what brand of pants to buy. Yeah, things get out of control when I don't have good co-hosts on board.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. That wasn't a guilt trip unless it worked. But no, so one of the things that seemed very potatoey to me about the PlayStation 4 Pro is that I think something that Microsoft does very well is on the Xbox One X, if you go to your game library, and you go to the upper right-hand corner, you can show all games, which is the default view, or you can select, right, Xbox 360 or Xbox One X Enhanced. And so what's really, really cool is whether you're aware of it or not, you don't have to like really think too hard about what do I have that's X enabled, right? And you could just pretty much go select Xbox One X, and suddenly your whole game feed is filtered by just what's One X enabled. Or enhanced, rather, I should say. If you go into the Microsoft Store, they have a category for Xbox One X Enhanced, right? With PlayStation, they're not hiding it, but I mean, they're not like obvious with it either. I mean, if you select a game, right, from the store, and then you go in and then you read the details, you could see PS4 Pro Enhanced or whatever. But honestly, like, when I installed my games on the Xbox One, uh, well, the Xbox One X, there were two things that were really nice. I installed all my games to an external hard drive, downloaded all the 4K updates and all that other stuff ahead of time. And I when I got the Xbox One X, I literally just plugged in the Xbox One X, unplugged the USB drive, and plugged it into my. I unplugged it from my old PlayStation, or I'm sorry, my old Xbox One launch model, plugged it into the Xbox One X, loaded up the dash, and do you want to activate this Xbox One X? Heck yes, I do. It noticed, hey, you have a backup of your config on this drive. Do you want to turn this into your new version of that console? Yes. Boom. All my games are there. All my saves are there. Everything just works. I'm ready to get gaming now. It was pretty awesome. It was really awesome. And then what was really cool is as new games became Xbox One X enhanced, I could see through that view, oh, holy cow, the backward compatible, Mirror's Edge is now 360 with HDR. That's pretty cool, right? Download that. Hey, Gears of War, download that. So it was very obvious. And when I'm in the store, it's very obvious. If I want to specifically look for 4K gaming with HDR or whatever, there's a whole category that I can go to where it's clear that I'm leveraging and maximizing my investment. On the PlayStation 4 Pro, it's a lot more potatoey. It's a lot more bland. So I got the PlayStation 4 Pro, plugged it in, plugged in my drive, my external drive, and instantly it asked me if I want to format the drive because it doesn't belong to that PlayStation 4. I'm like, no. So I unplug the drive, plug it back into my original console. And then the PlayStation 4 says, oh, I can copy your stuff from the old PlayStation 4. Do you want me to do that? It's like, okay, yeah, fine. So I copy everything over from the old PlayStation 4 to the new one. This took 4 hours.
Whew.
Right? So 4 hours before I can play anything whatsoever, right, on the PlayStation 4 Pro that I previously owned, right? Now, yes, I could have just popped in a game or whatever and set up my account and all this, but I wouldn't have had my saves. It wouldn't have been connected to my PS Plus. So to get all my settings and all my games and everything on just a 1 terabyte drive, because it only copied over what was on, it only actually copied over what was on the console. It didn't copy over the USB stuff. I have to install all that stuff over again. I have no choice. I've looked it up already. So that was kind of like lame to me. And kind of took the excitement out of it. But then, so now, like the next day this turns into, the next day I can play PlayStation 4 Pro. And I grab my copy of Infamous Second Son and I pop it in. And it's not immediately obvious to me if I'm actually playing the Pro version or if I'm still somehow an old like legacy PS4 Pro mode. Like I'm looking for things in the UI to like tell me or some kind of indicator that says like, hey, this is a Pro enhanced title. There's like nothing there. So I load up the game and I'm literally going through the menu options and how I finally determined it. I'm guessing I'm running it in Pro mode. I looked and there's a performance mode, which allows you to select 30 FPS or unlimited, which, by the way, also existed prior to the Pro. So that by itself doesn't mean Pro. But then there was another option that was whether I wanted resolution or whether I wanted performance. That feature hadn't been there before. And so I was guessing by that feature that means somehow 4K or up to 4K versus whatever.
Right.
The other thing too that I noticed is that when I play an Xbox One X version of a game on my launch console, and I look at the textures and all that other stuff, and I look at the Xbox One X version of it, it's clear that they're using completely different textures versus the textures for like Second Son. And granted, this is an old game that they enhanced for Pro. It looked to me like it was just using the same textures, but that maybe the models were like higher resolution. And so I was actually kind of disappointed of like, dude, this is like Pro enhanced. Like it just looks like a blurrier, like the textures are blurrier, but the polygons are smoother.
Right.
Like this isn't necessarily what I would call enhanced, right? So so it's kind of disappointed there. When I loaded up Horizon Zero Dawn, it looked amazing. It looked really good. But again, I'm guessing that it was running in Pro mode. automatically. Like there was no like pro update or patch or whatever that I saw. Like I popped in the game installed, and then I started playing it, and the game looked gorgeous. It definitely looked way better than Infamous Second Son, which makes sense because it's like a 2 to 3 year window between when these games came out.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm really bumming that like I like that Microsoft kind of makes it clear when I'm using my investment, right? And I was really kind of let down that like, $400 and I still don't even know if I'm like using it appropriately. That's kind of I expected a bit better from, I mean, Sony, you guys were the Cadillac of gaming for like forever. Like, would it kill you to have like a little indicator or something saying like pro enhanced, right? I mean,
Yeah, that that would be good to have if you're doing that, because I mean, I know that it gives you like performance options for, but I think maybe that's for
yeah,
both the One X and the PS4. But I wouldn't know.
yeah. Well,
Putting enhanced.
there is an option that I was able to select, right? That says boost mode, right? And so I was able to do boost, you know, boost mode. So even if the game is not directly PS Pro enhanced, right?
Mm,
Like you can get conceivably higher frame rates and all that other stuff, smoother gameplay and all that. So it's not like I'm not going to get anything out of it, but still it's really kind of a bummer. Like I'm really digging the fact that when I fire up my Xbox One, right, there is no question whether or not I'm playing the whether or not I have all the latest patches and updates and the updated textures and everything. Like it's obvious that I'm running it in Xbox One X enhanced mode versus PlayStation 4 Pro. Like I just have to kind of like guess. And I know a lot of folks are saying that like the games look the same, like the quality of the games look the same.
uh-huh.
Um, I have to get some multi-plats on this to really kind of vet that out. I can definitely say from the handful of pro games that I've played so far, Horizon Zero Dawn looks amazing. I'm not going to talk any smack about that game,
Hmm.
but that the not every game for pro looks quite that amazing versus a lot of the games that I've played for the Xbox One X um, really did kind of blow me away. And which the most impressive thing being, I didn't expect Mirror's Edge for the Xbox 360 running on the One X in backward compatibility mode would blow me away.
Hmm.
But the draw distance of the city skyline, the smoothness of the city skyline, from the polygon perspective, how well the texture's upresed, and how great the HDR looks in motion. I mean, you got to see it to believe it. I certainly enjoy the HDR in Mirror's Edge way better than I like the HDR in Second Son. In fact, in Infamous Second Son, I actually had to turn the HDR off because it makes the colors so dark that the black color crush in it makes it was already a dark game, but then you enable the HDR and you can just barely see anything in during the daytime. During the game's daytime, you're like, why is it always like the character is like standing in like the darkest of shadows, no matter
Hmm.
where they're standing? The sun can be shining directly on your face, and I can still barely make out details of the character. So like I actually found myself just turning HDR off in the game. And that's the first time I've ever done that. That's the first game I've ever done that with, where I was just like, oh, here's some awesome feature, but I have to turn it off because it actually degrades the experience. So things like that have kind of made me like but this game I am really excited about though. I want to make it clear. Another game I'm really excited about that I got pre-ordered is Shadow of the Colossus remastered.
Oh yeah, and see, I'm
So
glad they're doing that, because I never played the version on PS2 or PS3 because it was still like 15 or $20, and I was kind of like, I don't really want to do that. So that'll be nice to have an HD version. I'm
Oh,
looking forward to
absolutely. An
that.
HD version that's more than just an up conversion of the old stuff. This is like a ground zero rebuild. So I'm really excited to see that game. I'm kind of bummed that they didn't add anything additional. I mean, there's so much
Mm.
lore and so much rumor regarding there being like a 17th Colossus in the original game. All these different like I mean there are tons of rumors and everything, and there's people that have scoured every pixel of the map to really eke out every last secret. So I'm hoping I'm hoping that they're fibbing, right? About their having not added anything new to the game. I'm hoping that they have maybe squirreled something away in the mountains somewhere or something, or
Mhm.
maybe at the top of the tower, so that those of us who really really want a kind of adventure have something new to find in that world. I appreciate that they're not going to radically change the game from what it was, and I respect that, and I think that's the right move. But I think to to not recognize just how much lore and rumor and mystery and excitement there was surrounding that world, how much time people wanted to spend in it. The fact that they haven't given us anything in there brand new to kind of find really kind of takes the wind out of the sails of exploring,
Mhm.
right? So other than to see what the new graphics look like.
Now, was that were they going to be selling that at, was it $50?
Yeah, it's gonna be a full price game, which
And
makes it
see,
another.
I'm not going to buy it for that much. That's going to be like a $20 max buy.
I hear you. I have not yet played, although I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure that these kind of games will change my tune. I have not yet played The Last Guardian, although I do have it. Um, I'm really looking forward to playing that game. And to be honest with you, games like this and games like Shadow of the Colossus remastered and games like Last Guardian, those more than games like Infamous Second Son are what really motivated me to get the PS4 Pro
Yeah.
because, and I hated being right about this. I really did not enjoy it. Like I know, right? Like I sound vain just even saying it like that, but I predicted like 2 years ago before these new mid cycle console refreshes came out, I predicted that we were going to see a bunch of games that ran like ass on the existing consoles, right? But ran at acceptable frame rates and all that other stuff and resolutions on the higher end consoles. So far, if we look at games like The Enemy Within 2, right, or even The Enemy Within 1, if we look at games like The Last Guardian, certainly this has turned out to be true in a larger than I would like to have seen quantity of games where yes, they came out and they played on both consoles, but in an age where a lot of folks on PC are targeting 60 frames per second, to
Mhm.
not even be able to hit 30 frames per second on the standard edition of the console is devastating. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
damning. I mean, that might have been acceptable a long time ago when even PCs would have a challenge achieving that. But now that PCs are easily doing like even a low end PC can do 30 frames per second in most games.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
decent mid range PC, depending on the game, can still pull off 60 frames a second. So now to have, you got to get this, even the high end, right? Getting a PS4 Pro, you're not going to be able to do full 4K. And even if so, not at 60 frames a second. But you
Mhm.
will be able to do, somewhere between 1080p to 4K variable, right? At 30 frames a second. Okay. So, I mean, and that's really how I had to weigh it, right? I'm buying this game console to guarantee that just about every game I play will play at least 30 frames per second
Yeah.
at 1080p and sometimes higher versus the One X. I mean, it's hitting higher than 1080p frame rates a much larger percentage of the time, or I'm sorry, resolutions a much higher percentage of the time, and it's getting much closer in a lot of these multi-plat games to 60 frames per second than the PS4 Potato. So I I am going to enjoy the PS4 Pro. Like I did get it because I have enough games that at least they say that they're enhanced, but
Mhm.
I have to go online and like look like is this one enhanced? Is this one enhanced? Like and then I have to like hope that I'm actually playing it in enhanced mode and not doing it,
Yeah.
not missing some configuration option or some setting I'm supposed to go toggle, right? Like I'm going to options now, which I never used to do unless I was on a PC now. I find myself like before I even fire up the game, go into options and see if there's a resolution mode and see if that's what it defaulted to because right, I want to make sure that I'm actually playing this. I have a 4K TV with HDR. I'm fine with 30 frames per second gaming. That's totally fine. My eyes at a certain distance are a little bit blurry, so I have built in, I have built-in motion blur and built-in anti-aliasing, which is sweet. If I have to see the good in old
Oh
age,
my
right?
gosh.
Like as I get older, my anti-aliasing goes from 2x to 4x to 8x.
That's one way to look at it, Chris.
Hey,
Really optimistic.
yeah, I'm optometrist mystic.
My God.
But listeners, mate, hey, thank you for giving me a good segue away from my bad jokes.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I certainly, like I said, I don't have buyer's remorse for getting the PS4 Pro, but it definitely didn't. It hasn't blown me away and proven itself quite as well as the Xbox One X has. And if you haven't seen 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays, damn. Yes, I know that we can stream, right? You can use Vudu or you can use like different channels on the Roku or whatever. And you can watch 4K movies that way with HDR. There definitely is a difference between streaming a 4K movie with HDR and watching it off of a disc on your TV. There is a noticeable difference in the colors, in the clarity. Um, it's you got to kind of see it to believe it, and so all those things have made me like you know so excited when it comes to gaming on the Xbox One X because it's a clear advantage. The PS4 Pro, I have to kind of search for it, and I have to kind of assume that it's there and hope that it's there. It's not as obvious.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I'm trying to think if there's like any other exclusives you'd really want to look into right now. It's just so many of those that are notable. It's
Yeah.
cross-platform and stuff right now. So
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy VII, when that comes out, is going to be a timed exclusive, I think, on the Sony platform.
oh, okay.
So my wife and I already talked about it, though. If Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy VII are multi-plat, like they originally planned for them to be, if they stay to the plan of being multi-plat, we will wait to play them on the Xbox One X because we're both convinced that the frame rates will be better, the graphics that will be in the higher resolutions more consistently. So far, all the multi-plat games that are coming out, almost unilaterally, with like one odd outlier here and there, the games are better on the One X. So Turf says he must watch all his porn in 4K to get a good look at the not safe for family, so I won't say. Well, that's very insightful, Turf.
Thanks, Turf.
Actually, I read somewhere that 4K was actually pretty devastating for the porn industry. Because from what I read, from what I read, right, like human bodies are not that perfect. So there's certain benefits to having lower resolution that as they increase the resolution, like in some cases, like I heard, like I was reading that they literally had to like spray paint, like airbrush, like the actors and stuff like that to like airbrush out in real life. I'm not talking like Photoshop after the fact, but in real life before the filming, they would airbrush certain portions of the actors' bodies to paint away the imperfections. And I'm just like, wow, that's kind of, no pun intended, that's kind of hardcore.
Wow.
Yeah, Turf says, when you're looking at a butt, you definitely want some blur. Turf, I definitely do sometimes have a hard time reading comments and keeping a straight face. Generally, I think I do okay, but I have an even harder time keeping a straight face when former members of the show send me very disturbing pictures on my cell phone in text. So, which has been known to happen. I won't name who's done that, but that also gets, you're like, yeah, you're hosting the show and somebody sends you like a junk pic, with like their Nintendo Switch or whatever, like right next to their junk, and you're like, how the hell do you conduct a show like this? Didn't just happen. Like, how do you do that? That definitely needs some blur.
Oh my goodness. That's a
But
good segue actually.
all right.
Thanks, Turf. Speaking of the Switch, so we got from what I understand, I haven't actually watched it yet. I just read a little bit about it. Kind of miniature Nintendo Direct over the past week that had some announcements on what's going to be coming to the Switch here soon.
Oh, fill us in on that.
Yeah, so actually there were only a couple things that I really noted. So if any of you guys had been DS fans back in the day, there was a game called it's really weird abbreviation Tui or something. The World Ends with You. So that's going to be getting a
I read about that.
yeah, that'll be getting a port over to the Switch. I played a little bit of it, never finished it. But it it's one of those things like it may not make anyone buy Switch necessarily, but it's kind of cool to see that they're acknowledging a little more of a niche game and bringing it to that.
And
Um,
this is an enhanced version, by the way. This isn't. They're not porting the
there's
3DS version. This is.
there's Yeah, I know there's a little bit of there's like an extra chapter, like one or two new characters that they're doing. I don't know. I assume they are upgrading the visuals and the audio quality, which would be nice because that was a problem with the DS was the audio quality,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
they're going more with the They're going more with the mobile version of it, which had higher resolution graphics and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I was trying to think other than that, what other notable stuff that they were porting over? I know it was kind of like a lot of Hyrule Warriors. I was happy to see that. So I was trying to think of it as someone on the show or someone in the comments because we've been talking about that. I really wanted to see them port that over because I really enjoyed the game. And we were talking about how Fire Emblem Warriors had came out, so maybe they were waiting for the right time, and it looks like they're going to be doing that. So
Yep. Donkey
that'll be
Kong Country,
nice.
Tropical
Oh,
Freeze.
Tropical Freeze, which I heard is super good.
Yep.
Never played it, but that'll be nice. So that'll be an excuse once I get a Switch one day to go ahead and buy it on there.
Now,
Um,
I felt like, did you feel this way? I felt like
yeah,
Nintendo totally trolled us with this Nintendo Direct because leading up to the Nintendo Direct, they're like, "Oh, we got some announcements about games, past and present." And like there's all this buzz about like, "Oh my goodness, are we finally going to hear about Virtual Console? Finally going to hear about Virtual Console?" And really what they meant was, "Hey, guess what? Hyrule Warriors and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze are going to be brought over to the are going to be brought over to the Switch. Not in a virtual console backward compatible manner, but in a whole like buy the game all over again specifically for the Switch. So
hmm
that kind of those are good games, don't get me wrong. And if you haven't played them, folks, they're worth getting, especially on the Switch in portable mode. But it kind of takes the wind out of the sails when like they kind of, you know, they know that what we all want to hear about is the virtual
that's right.
console, right? So I don't know. Am I the only one, or would you?
Well, I mean, what I've kind of been interested in that other people have mentioned, like you said, kind of the virtual console, like what games they're gonna kind of be bringing to that and allowing you to play over on the Switch. I mean, and I think what a lot of people were saying about this Nintendo Direct was that it seems like they're saying, okay, all those Wii U games you never played, we're going to port them over, which I don't think is necessarily a problem or anything. But
Right. It is
it
kind of
sounded like they didn't have any big new announcements for the
yeah.
most part, like new games. Um,
It is kind of a kick
which,
in the teeth, though, right? Like if I do like okay, Nintendo, by your own definition, I'm a sucker and did buy the Wii U and did have these games. So like throw me a bone because you basically left me out in no man's land for like the last 3 years of the life of this console, right? Like you,
mhm,
you like you couldn't have found some way to make my digital purchases transfer over, like
yeah.
just hey, if you like Tropical Freeze on the Wii U, buy it again
You'll
on the
love it on the
Switch. Like, and
Switch.
I mean, Sony's doing the same thing with Shadow of the Colossus, right? So it's not like and Last of Us remastered and all this other stuff. So it's not like Nintendo has the exclusive lock on doing this. And but I guess it just like I would be more excited. Like to me, those aren't like leading announcements, right? Those aren't announcements that are like making me drool right? For the like, oh my goodness, like if they're showing this now, like what's going to be in the full Nintendo Direct, right? Like I don't know. For me, I'm just like, really, this is all you got? Like, hey, guess what? That crap we released the last unsuccessful year of the Wii U, it's coming to the Switch this year, right? Like stay tuned for
Sorry,
more.
sorry, we failed you the first time, but we're back and we'll get it this time.
Right.
We got you.
Yeah. And I do agree with Turf. I mean, Turf points out a bunch of folks have a Switch that didn't have a Wii U. I kind of get that, but like I feel like Nintendo is just outright ignoring the faithful few that did have the if you had the Wii U, like literally it's done you zero good. It's been of zero benefit for you in the Switch world, right? If it was a good game, you got to buy it again, right? Or you have to hope for the port, and then when the port happens, you have to buy it again. Versus what they got us used to with like for a couple of generations, they got us used to this with the DS series family of different DSs. They got us used
Mhm.
to this with the Wii to the Wii U. Like, hey, if you had a good investment in our previous platform, we're going to let you carry that investment into the new platform. The Switch, you know, is just kind of like you got to be you got to totally buy into the new platform, like kind of on a gamble. So I'm hoping that they don't play this out too long and have, you know, some people disappointed that like here they are 2 years in and Nintendo's still like excited about bringing back a game that, you know, only sold like 50,000 copies when it first launched, and you know.
Yeah. Well, and gosh, I was losing my train of thought there. I don't I don't mind seeing stuff come over for sure. It would be nice if it sounds like Hyrule Warriors. I think it's going to be 50 or $60, and really, like, honestly, that I think it's a really good game, but I would like to see those Wii U titles come over starting at like 40. I feel like that would be. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it's
guess
one of those
that's
things where people pay 60, so you'd be kind of stupid not to start it out at 60, I guess. But
right. That is the other thing,
no,
honestly, that kind of takes the wind out of the sails. Like I really did like the way that you know, Capcom did the Resident Evil stuff. As much as I didn't like the fact that when I opened up the cart, I saw like, oh, it's Resident, you know, I bought the Resident Evil collections in physical form, only to find out, oh, it's Resident Evil Revelations 1 on the cartridge and then a download certificate for 2.
oh,
So that was like a real bummer, but I did appreciate the fact that it was only $20.
yeah,
So I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, I can live with it. I'm with you. Like I don't see why Shadow of the Colossus has to be like a $50 title. I don't see why Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze needs to be a $60, you know, title. Like I get, right. It's at least with Shadow of the Colossus, at least they have, you know, they can say like, you know, it's they rebuilt the engine from the ground up, all new graphics, all new everything.
hmm
Okay, like I'm only really bummed because you didn't add any new content. That's why I don't want to pay $50. But I could see where you've put just in the textures and the sound and all that other stuff, 4K resolutions and stuff like that, higher frame rate. I could see where you've probably put, you know, enough effort into the game engineering wise to make it worth that much. But let's be honest, like I'm pretty sure if you put Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch right next to the one on the Wii U, graphically you're not going to notice a huge difference. Yes, there's like an additional character and like a couple additional levels, but is there like, you know, full $60 price tag worth of value added to that game if you have already played it on the
hmm
Wii U? Probably not. I feel like I'm with you. Like if they said like, hey, look, we're gonna have a value library for the Switch, right? And the value library includes games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It includes, you know, games like you know, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, you know, things like that. That would be, you know, I think that would be a lot easier to swallow. I think the other thing too is that um, I think a lot of folks have been since day one wanting to see games like Super Mario Maker on the Switch.
yeah, yeah.
So the fact that they're, I don't know, maybe they're gonna do that. I think the fact that they're doing it with some other Wii U games is promising. Like maybe we will see a Super Mario Maker arrive on the Switch at some point. Hopefully it's like Mario Kart 8, where like it's deluxe, right? You get the disc and it has everything. Because I feel like the game really hit its stride after a series of patches and add-ons that they hadn't originally planned. But but yeah, the fact that we're not seeing that a little bit earlier, I hope that in the upcoming Nintendo Direct, and Turf is exactly right. Like usually within a couple of weeks of like the little Nintendo Directlets, usually you see a full Nintendo, grown up, right? Nintendo Direct like comes out and says, "Come on, my children," right? So hopefully that comes out and gives us some really meaningful
Mm.
surprises. Because right now I'm not pumped by the current showings. I guess like they're good games. They're not bad games for people that haven't played them before, haven't seen them before. I think that'll be something worthwhile. But I'm with you. I don't think that any of these are really system sellers versus Super Mario Maker was a system seller. Like it
Yeah.
was amazing how much of a system seller that was. Like Nintendo themselves openly admitted that the Wii U is dead and then shipped Mario Maker and people are running out and buying, right? They actually launched a Wii U bundle with Super Mario Maker
Yeah.
in it and people bought it for their kids for Christmas, full well knowing that this could be like the only new game that comes out on that thing like ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a
So,
hell of a game. So to not have that on the Switch is kind of I
oh,
you know
yeah, actually, I totally forgot Dark Souls was getting a port over too. Like, that was it. That was one of the big ones. I totally forgot about that one. So, for all those people who are Dark Souls fans, that you know, you want to get your ass kicked on the go, now you can do it.
I do have to say, I think it was smart that they get games like games that I really enjoy playing on the Switch, are the RPG games. And so, I might actually get myself a copy of Skyrim, because just to kind of to chip away at it, on the Switch, I think it's going to be a lot more likely than me. Realistically, I'm not going to come upstairs, sit in the loft at the computer for like hours on end every
Mhm.
single night to get any meaningful progress in that game. Like I'll play it in bursts. Like oh yeah, I have Skyrim, and I'll like launch it and I'll play it for like an hour or two on a idle Saturday, once every 4 months, and then I forget where I'm at and what I'm doing and what the purpose of the side quest was and why these people keep following me, why all these kids keep calling me dad,
Yeah.
and I'll start a new game and then I'm like, why do we even bother starting a new game? Like I'm not going to finish this game. But on the Switch, I think I could actually finish the game. I think I could pick it up, play here and there, maybe in the living room, right? Maybe at night after I stay up late sometimes because for my son for his diabetes. So every now and then when I have to like just stay up another half hour to make sure he's okay, take out the Switch, play a bit of game, right? Know that I don't have to get too into it because I can just save and put it away. So
Mhm.
games like I Am Setsuna, really, really good. Octopath Traveler, which is looking like it's gonna be a really awesome exclusive on the Switch by the same
Mhm.
folks that made Bravely Default. I want to see more stuff like Octopath Traveler, right? As an exclusive on the platform. I want to see more I mean, multiplats are fine, but the multiplats, other than being portable, they're going to look better and play better on every other
Yeah.
console.
Yeah.
So unless there's a like RPGs, I don't know. It's weird. I said this last show. I'll say it again. Like, part of me wants every single game to be on the Switch, but part of me wants to also be able to have that game on my TV in 4K when I am doing the TV gaming. So the Switch is almost everything I want it to be. And to be clear, I don't want the Switch to become like a 4K gaming platform. Here's actually what I want to see. I want to see something like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Games Pass become something more where instead of me buying a game like LA Noir, and if I want to be able to experience it in 4K on my TV, I have it for Xbox One X. And if I want to play it portable, I have another copy for the Switch. Neither of which the save games cross transfer or anything, right? Neither of which is really connected to each other. And I had to buy the same game twice. I'd
Mhm.
much prefer to be able to buy a license to play the game LA Noir on my platform of choice, be it on my PC, be it on my Xbox, or be it on my Switch. So
Mhm.
I ideally like what I want to see as a gamer is I want to see the Netflixification of gaming, right? Like Netflix doesn't care if I watch my Netflix movies through my subscription on my PlayStation 4 or my Xbox or my Switch or my Roku, right?
Hmm.
Or my Amazon TV, right? Like Netflix doesn't care. It'll happily allow me to see my shows on any one of those platforms. I feel like gaming in some ways is still living in the Stone Age because the game is tied to the platform. The copy of the game I bought is tied to the platform, even though I get it for an exclusive, but for a multi-plat, there's kind of no longer any excuse for why that has to be. Why can't I buy a license to the game and then play it on my platform of choice? And I think Microsoft is halfway there with their Play Anywhere. You can get games like Zen Pinball 3. You can get, or Pinball FX 3, they call it, which is by Zen Studios, the makers of Zen Pinball. You can do that with, the other games if you buy them through the Xbox store, like Quantum Break and Alan Wake and all these other games, Ori and the Blind Forest. So it's really cool. And Cuphead, actually, I was playing it on my Xbox One, having a good time. I came up one day and I was doing like a Windows update or whatever, and I noticed like, hey, wait a minute, I have Cuphead on the PC, and I double click and it's like, yeah, it's an Xbox Play Anywhere title, and I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Like, and so I double clicked it and I launched it, and I'm like, holy shit, it has my exact save progress from the Xbox. This is freaking awesome. I wonder what this game looks like in 4K, because the Xbox version at the time didn't run in 4K, right? So
Hmm.
like I
Hmm.
go through and I set it and I'm doing all this other stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is friggin' amazing. This is actually really, really amazing that, like, if I want to play it on the PC with a higher resolution graphics or whatever, right? Like I can, and I can pick up where I left off. Or if let's say that there was something where maybe the console version, the frame rate wasn't quite where it needed to be. This isn't the case. Cuphead is amazing and it runs at a really solid frame rate. But let's say that there was some issue where I'm trying to beat some boss and I feel like I'm getting cheated by the responsiveness of the controls and the frame rate not being where it needs to be. To know I can just be like, okay, save my progress, exit, close down, go upstairs, get on my PC, and take that boss to friggin' school, right? Like, was kind of like amazing to me. So I don't see why I shouldn't be able to do the same thing cross platform. I understand why Sony and Microsoft may or may not want that to happen. But as a gamer, wish of my heart, if I could wave a magic wand, right, and get one wish, it'd be that I could buy a game once, buy a license to the game once, and play it on whatever the hell platform I wanted. So, especially now where the choice is portable in 720p, which is awesome, but then also at home 4K with HDR and 30 to 60 frames per second. Also awesome. Like, why do I need to buy the game twice and have two different progress markers in the same game in order to be able to enjoy both experiences? I feel like I should be able to enjoy both. I'm sure probably in the next generation of consoles, maybe the thing that comes after the Switch, will get this in one console. But the techie in me says we got the tech to do it now. Like,
Hmm.
I'd love to have it now. So,
Yeah, I imagine we'd have to see definitely quite a few changes though for that to happen. Just with the way that the I guess you'd say the kind of the profit model works with how you sell the games versus the consoles and who's making money and how they're doing it. That's an interesting idea though. And actually, one thing I was wondering, because you mentioned it, I know like PlayStation has it, Xbox has it, and I forget what each of their services are called. But if Nintendo offered basically that monthly subscription service where you had access to the games and you just paid per month,
mhm.
is that something you might see yourself doing instead of just buying the games? I mean,
I
especially if they
gotta
have virtual
be,
console, that
yeah.
might be a big motivator to do something like that, even
Oh,
if it was a little more expensive than the other.
absolutely. I could see myself because there's no, I mean, and LA Noir is another example of this. I already mentioned Resident Evil Revelations, right? One is on the disc, two is not. Um but if you look at LA Noir, um only half the game is actually on the disc. You have to download the other half of the game to actually play it.
Mm.
If I'm having a real difficult time accepting that there's not a single console out, or there's not a single flagship gaming system out now where the game that you buy is actually the complete version of the game, with the occasional exception, right? Horizon Zero Dawn, woohoo! But so now that proposition of buying two games that are gonna, like, I can't even guarantee that the copy that I have on the Switch will function even remotely close to the copy that I have on the Xbox One, right? Like literally the quality of the game could be two totally different qualities based on, this one launched a month later than the other one, and so they fixed bugs or didn't fix bugs or whatever. So yeah, I'm more, here's what it would have to be in order for me to be comfortable with renting the games. If I've started playing the game, regardless of what happens with licensing, I damn well be able to finish the game. At least as long as I'm on the same console and that the digital service itself is still up and running, right? So let's take Xbox Game Pass, for example. If it's the case that I can log into my Game Pass account, say, oh, I want to play Batman Arkham City, right? Cool. I download Batman Arkham City. I start playing it. Let's say next month they decide, oh, we're not renewing the license, so it's not provided through Game Pass anymore. As long as they don't retroactively like pull it from my machine or something dumb like it's there and I launch it and it's like, no longer can't play this anymore. As long as there is a such thing as Xbox Game Pass for that Xbox, I feel like I should be able to download that game and play it till it's completed. Because if you think about it, like some of these games, right? That one might not be the best example, but let's take a game like Final Fantasy or something. Some of these games where it takes like 70, 80 hours to finish the game. Could you imagine being like 50 hours into the game and then suddenly it gets delisted from the rental service because the license expired and you're just like SOL? Like,
Yeah, because that's how like Persona 3 and 4 are. It took me like 90 hours to get those done.
right.
I'd
So,
be
I mean,
pissed.
no, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, as long as they're committed to making sure, look, if you started this, we're going to let you finish it.
Yeah.
As long as it's, as long as the service itself is still active, then I'd be totally fine with it. And for Switch, honestly, for Switch, I would probably only deal with game subscriptions. Like I probably would not bother buying anything physical on the Switch anymore at all. Um, so the one exception to that being, interestingly enough, the games I can't get on the Switch that I want to have on there. Like games that I would want to own on the Switch are a lot of the games that, like I wouldn't mind having the virtual console games on the Switch, right? Permanently, right?
Yeah.
Independent of a service. But things like LA Noire, yeah, let me pay $9 a month and I'll play LA Noire. I'll try Doom. I mean, I would love to try Doom. I don't want to, full price, actually full price plus 10% for the Switch version, want to play Doom on the Switch. Like if I already have it for the Xbox One X and it looks and plays amazing, I don't want to play it portably so bad that I'm going to spend another 30, $40 on it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's really what Nintendo's competing with, at least for me right now. And I know that like they're not hurting because they're competing within my household for those other two consoles. I know that they're doing really good overall. So I don't think that they necessarily need to like, cater to somebody like me. But I guess what I'm saying is that I do think that there is still some headroom. There are still some additional holdouts that they could win by doing something like that. I think most people are probably the opposite of me, and would be just totally fine renting the back catalog of NES games, SNES games, etc. Like for as long as Nintendo's willing to keep that up. That don't want to specifically own, quote unquote, a digital copy of Mario 3 or, Super Punch Out or whatever. Most people are probably fine with like get it from the rental service, play it for a few minutes, toss it, and then right, go back to playing Doom or something like that. And I think for subscription service, I think that would be, the best way to do it. Certainly, if you want to experience, if you're coming in late to the game and you want to experience as much of the library as you can, I think that's really the benefit of a subscription based model is, ooh, I'll take some of this, I'll take some of this, I'll take some of this. Oh, I don't really like that game, but there's no penalty because I can play this game, and ooh, I really love this game, right? If you already know what you want, and I think that's the problem with me, is I know what I want, I know the experience that I want to have, and I know the games that I want to play. So that mostly drives my purchasing decisions. A subscription is really hard for me because I know I want that game, and I know I don't, if I want it and I want to play it now, I also know I want to play it later. I don't want to have that chance of I can't play it later because the subscription ran out. So,
yeah, I haven't tried any of the subscription-based services or anything yet. The Switch, especially the way they're making the game library, that is one I could see that happening. Just because, like you said, I'd like to play Doom because I haven't played that yet. I haven't played LA Noire, but I also don't want to pay $50 for either of those right now. So, yeah. Well, looks like we are getting in the last few minutes here. So, if there are any last thoughts or anything you want to add in before we kind of start to wrap things up here.
Absolutely. I think we got about 5-10 minutes. So while folks are maybe talking to us about either some of their pickups, or what are your thoughts on subscription services? Would you pay $9 a month, or how much would you pay to be able to have access to the entire Nintendo back catalog, or the entire Sony or Microsoft back catalogs? Would it be enticing to you to be able to play, to have something like Xbox Game Pass on the PlayStation? Like what would be your thoughts on that? I don't think it's as far-fetched as some of us may think. If you look at a lot of the stuff Microsoft has done with Play Anywhere already with Xbox and PC, of course, both environments, Windows 10 and Xbox environments, Microsoft owns, but Microsoft has also kind of, extended an olive branch to other consoles by way of, the online play, making it so that, games like Minecraft can do crossplay. In fact, my son actually informed me the other day that crossplay on for Minecraft, they rebuilt the game engine from the ground up. And
yeah.
I don't remember what time frame he told me, but at some point in the future, they're actually going to stop patching or updating the original build of the game, and they will only be doing patches and content updates and things like that for the new version of the game that supports crossplay. So this is going to put Sony in a really interesting position, because they're going to have to decide, do they want to have a less than caviar and champagne version of Minecraft and hold the line on we're not going to allow crossplay, or are they going to break and say, okay, fine, we're going to do crossplay because we don't want to lose out on the Minecraft demographic?
Well, and actually, so what happened with that? Because I had bought so there was like Minecraft PS Vita, Minecraft Xbox One and stuff. So like I bought the disc-based version, and then I found Minecraft on my Xbox One. I was like, what's this? So yeah, what they're doing now, basically how I understand it, I think it's called the Bedrock engine, is now all the versions, whether it's the phone or the Xbox or well, not every version, but a couple different ones are using this engine. So
all of them but the PlayStation, basically.
Yeah. So now even like mobile phones have the infinite worlds, whereas they used to have like a small or medium. Now the draw distance and things like that are affected. But it is basically the full same thing across all versions. With the bad thing being, because I bought the phone version because I was like, oh, this would be nice on the go. But if you want to play your game save between versions, I think you have to buy one of those Realms subscriptions, which is like $10 a month, which I ain't gonna do. So that's the bad thing. But it is very interesting that they were able to do a lot of that cross-platform, especially because that's been such an issue with Sony games. So
yeah, so I can see Microsoft kind of, dipping their toe in this water of just how far can we blur the line, right? Like what does and if you look at Phil Spencer and some of the stuff that he's, been talking about and alluding to, he's definitely picturing Xbox as more of a brand than necessarily just a console.
Hmm.
And so it'll be interesting to see how far they can push that concept of Xbox being a brand, and being a service. I guess we'll have to see. So I think a lot of that is going to be up to how, like, I think, Nintendo, if how they're willing to allow the cross play to work, for the online stuff is any indication, this might be a convenient way for Nintendo to kind of, really open the floodgates in terms of I would love to be able to buy LA Noir once and play it on both consoles. That would be awesome. So my pipe dream would be if there's like an Xbox Game Pass of some form that allowed me to play at least some subset of the Xbox library on other consoles. And even if this only means that we see things like 360 games and original Xbox games hit Windows 10, that would still be awesome. I'd take that. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, because like I have it in the description there. I just now got around to playing like Metro 2033, and that was a 360 game back then. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Mr. Schmink says,
oh
"Hey, if I
yeah.
could pay $9.99 a month to play Super Mario Bros. 1 through 3, I'll remember Delmonico's." No, he said $1.99 for a pound and a half of steak. No, he said if he could play Mario 1 through 3 as much as he wanted for $9 a month, he would pay it.
Hey, technically you can. You just have to send Nintendo a check every month. I'm sure they won't say no.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like, dig your old Super Nintendo out of the closet and just send Nintendo a check for no reason, and you've got what you wanted, my friend.
I mean, we're
I,
practically doing that right now, right?
yeah. I get what he means, though. He means on the Nintendo Switch. He means portably, and I don't think that you're alone, Lister. I think a lot of us would love to play. The first thing that we think when we see the Nintendo Switch, right, and how capable of a platform it is, oh my goodness, can we play all of our Virtual Console stuff on the go? Because with DS, I know 3DS has had some Virtual Console games come out, but nowhere near as many as came out on the Wii and the Wii U, and certainly, not without some caveats. So some
Mhm.
games just don't handle the Virtual Console treatment on that old of a portable as well as they would on the Switch. So
Oh, and Retro Sports Gamer had a comment there. He said, "DashV YouTube just demonetized all channels under 1,000 subscribers. Got the email at about 10 p.m. CST. Give us your thoughts." I hadn't saw anything
so
on that, so
yeah, so this is another situation where, much like I'm probably not Nintendo's target audience anymore. In this case, we are under 1,000 subscribers. I think we have something like 200 or 300 subscribers. So not a tremendous amount, but the ones that we have, you're in the chat, you're hanging out with us, you're asking questions, you're participatory. So I'd rather have a few very vocal, very active subscribers than have millions of people that are just kind of like, decoration for our YouTube channel. So so I definitely fall into that whole, like, where it would be demonetized. Honestly, I have to tell you, like, I really personally, I don't care. I know this is going to offend a lot of people. Like not my statement. I don't think that they'll care about my statement, but I think there will be a lot of people that are put off by the fact that, like, hey, how come I'm demonetized, etc. But for under 1,000 subscribers, if you look at the number of views that those videos have to be generating, like for me, like for a year of YouTubing, maybe, maybe I get like 2 cents from YouTube. So if they no longer want to have the overhead associated with writing me a check for 2 cents that I'm never going to cash anyway, I'm 100% fine with that. Now I can't speak for every YouTuber. There might be some folks that have under 1,000 subscribers, but because of maybe placement on web pages or something like that, or social media, maybe they have, lots of their followers through Twitter or something. I can understand that this might be, more damaging for them. But generally, I'm thinking if you have under 1,000 subscribers, your monetization and revenue probably wasn't that great anyway. And I don't mean great as in good. I mean, it probably, you probably weren't making a significant amount of money anyway. I know we Retro Reload certainly isn't. If I told you what it actually cost me to run the show, it would probably blow your mind. Like, wait a minute, like yeah, I'm not making money, Kyle. You're not making money that I'm aware of,
no,
right? Unless you're
not
taking all
that
the
I'm
ad
aware
revenue.
of. Maybe Jeremy's aware of my money. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally put hundreds of dollars into the show last year alone. I'm going to do it again this year because a lot of stuff, like things like domains and just equipment, getting a better microphone so you guys can hear us better, getting a better camera so you can see us better, making sure my internet connection is fast enough to support guests without skipping and everything. There's a lot of money that I've sunk into making sure that we can try to do this with ever increasing quality. I have zero intention or zero belief that I'm ever going to see any of that money back. And I don't care. I do it because I love gaming. I love talking about gaming. I love hanging out with folks like Kyle and Jeremy and Tyler and Lizzie. Yeah, I love you guys.
Thanks.
So, and I like seeing people's comments in the chat. It's nice now and then to see that I'm not the only one that's still attached to physical media. I like, seeing that I'm not the only one that thinks it's kind of an interesting idea to have a cross-platform game subscription service, right? Just idea thrown around out there. And I also think it's useful sometimes when, you guys are like you know, um, you know, you guys that want to be, I just saw one of those comments from Turf that's hard to kind of hold a straight face when you see it. So I'll share it in a moment. But to close out my thought, I really, I don't do this because of the money. Now, Turf does make a good point. He says that it's a real kick in the nanas to anyone that lands a viral video. I do agree. That does kind of suck that there's that lost revenue opportunity. But I don't know. I guess personally, I kind of see videos quote going viral is almost like winning the lottery, right? Like I mean, while yes, that can happen. I'm sure that somebody would be impacted by that. I still don't know. Like, I'd have to do the math to see like what kind of revenues you'd be really losing out on for that one time. You got 1 million views or you got 100,000 views. Like maybe at the end of the day, like you missed out on like $50 or $100 or $200. Assuming it's like a one-time thing. I think a better benefit would be, if you go viral, it's likely that, something that can actually help you go viral is to not have ads in the way of the video. Because I know if somebody shares something and it's like a really short thing, if it looks like the ad is going to be longer than the thing I'm actually trying to watch, I'm not going to bother to watch it. Especially if it's not like content that I'm sure I'm going to want to see, right? It's like, I don't have time. Here's an ad. Bye. So it might actually help those folks to actually have no obstruction, right? If you're not monetized, you're also not there. You're also not displaying ads. So more people in a viral situation would be able to see your video, determine whether or not overall they like your message, they like your channel, they like who you are, and issue a subscription. Now, if you get enough subscriptions, now you enter that realm where now you can actually be monetized. Right. So I could see both sides. I could see where not being monetized and then having a viral situation could help you. But also I definitely see your point, Turf, that like, let's say you had a video that just out of nowhere in a month gets 1 million views. Right. Yeah, maybe you're talking like, $500 or $600 that you missed out on. That does kind of suck. Me personally, I can pay my rent and my car payments and buy my PS4 Protato regardless of what my channel does or doesn't do in ad revenue. So I don't really care. It literally doesn't affect me. But for those that it does affect, I definitely encourage them to speak out to YouTube and say, hey, what's the deal? If you're somebody that's trying to make a livelihood on YouTube, be aware of the limitations, be aware of the upfront investment that you're going to have to make in making this work out. I don't think that there's any guarantee or entitlement to creating a YouTube channel and then suddenly making buckets of money just by making content. So, I mean, the way to think about it, right? YouTube is an advertiser. So they're going to pay the people who are enabling them to sell the most ads. And if you're a gamble, right, if they have to hope that you get viral to sell enough ads, that's not really a stable platform for them to build on. So I think from their perspective, what they're trying to do is just make it so that content creators have an incentive, like not just anybody can jump in the pool, right? Like you have to, in order to get 1,000 subscribers, You have to be having really killer content. You have to be actively reaching out, like going to cons, talking to people, sharing the hell out of your stuff on social media, advertising, right? You have to be really actively engaged in building, your channel, building your brand, that kind of thing. I think the days of you just kind of like being one of 10 people and then rising to the top have kind of been drowned out by the number of people that are on there now making videos and making content. So I think they're just doing the natural thing of like weeding out. We can write a dozen checks for 2 cents to people like Chris, right? Or, right, we can give maybe more to some of the folks that are actually people like, the angry video game nerd, right? Top hat gamer, things like that. And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that personally. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kyle?
So I think the first thing you get into, so my immediate thought, if I was going to reason that out and say why they did that, would be that when you had the adpocalypse and all that stuff, where if you have these smaller channels that are monetized and you're having to have people review these videos or go through all of basically that work to make sure the content's moderated and all that, that it wouldn't be worth the money you're paying out to have those ads on the videos and having to moderate it. The issue being that YouTube does not have a good reputation for having everyone follow the rules equally, for moderating the content, for having content ID work properly.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, I think this sort of move would only get bad publicity for them, because we already have a system that a lot of people would tell you doesn't work. And now you're basically saying, sorry, unless you meet this threshold, then you're not even going to be a part of the system as is. Like you said, I guess we would have to look at a lot of like the metrics to see how exactly people would like mathematically be affected, who that's going to affect, how much it would affect them. I think it'll just give people more of a reason not to like YouTube, honestly, for doing things the way they do them. There were a couple interesting points, like you brought up in a retro sports gamer, I think, mentions like, how are the ads going to work on those videos? Will they still be putting ads on there? They're just not monetized now, or will they just not have ads on those videos?
I
Because
think that's a
then
valid point.
if they're not, are they not wanting to have to worry about moderating that content and save themselves time, or are they just going to say, we're just doing this so we don't have to pay people out? I don't know. I think Turf brought up some good points too. He said he guarantees if a video gets 1 million views, YouTube will have ads in front of it without monetization. Hide and watch. So
now, actually, I do have a counterpoint to that, because while that could be true, I could also see situations in which that absolutely would not be true, because there have been situations in which viral videos have burned YouTube. So this might actually be a protection against stuff like that. So some no-name guy, right, videos some horrific event, right, very, very graphically explicit or whatever, or very, very volatile language or something like that. The video goes viral. The account was monetized, right? And so now you have all these companies, BMW, Apple, Microsoft, going, dude, what the hell? Why were people, right? You had this person talking about, black people, or talking about, bad about this country, or you saw this like really horrible, right, like genocide video or something like that somebody like filmed. And why is it that we're seeing, why is it that they're seeing an HP commercial, 2 seconds after seeing like barbecued bodies being pulled out of a building? What the hell is the matter with you, right? And YouTube has had with this kind of stuff like actually happening. I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
yeah, no, I know the
So,
adpocalypse and everything.
right.
Yeah.
So now if it's this small no-name account, right, monetized or not, like let's say it was a small account not monetized, and they decide they want to slap monetization on it because it's going viral. Well, there's a couple problems with that, right? Like first, they have to be able to detect that this video is going viral early enough to get ads in to actually take advantage of the viral growth and popularity of the video, which can actually be really challenging, because a couple things has to happen. They have to identify it, which is probably easy, right? They can set up some software, they can set up some alerts. Hey, Like text me when like, oh, okay, DashV said something about blah blah blah, and now things are going viral because everyone thinks he's an idiot. So this happens, right? Let's say now they have to be able to figure out like what publishers do they have, what advertisers do they have, like what is the actual content that's going viral. Now I have to take a look. Oh, it's DashV having some rant about whatever. Well, do I have publishers, advertisers that I know are on board with having advertisements linked to this content? Now, depending on the content, it may not be a slam dunk. They may actually have to contact some of these people and be like, hey, Apple, here's something that's trending. We think from the graph that it could be up to like 40 million views by the end of this week. Do you want in on this? He's saying some pretty colorful stuff about XYZ. Are you fine with that? So, I think that that's a real that's a real issue. And I don't know that all that collaboration could happen in time to actually capitalize on the video before suddenly it wasn't as viral and isn't quite as popular as it was before. It's certainly a hell of a lot of work in the back end to try to kind of maintain and keep up with versus just going with people that are steady. This guy's got 20,000 subscribers. 3 times a week, he's kicking out content that generates 4 to 5 million views, a shot. Plus, because he's making so much revenue off of us and he knows what our rules are, no swearing, no this, no that, chances are he's going to keep with content that's in line with our policies, right? Or he loses a significant amount of money. I think that's a safer play for them and a more stable play for them as an advertising platform than to go with somebody like me or someone else. Small audience, you have no idea what the hell they're going to say. You have no idea how it's going to be received. And yeah, you could make some money, but that's not worth it if you lose a major contract with an advertiser because they're like, dude, hell no. Did you just show, right, our video, right next to hurricane victim, like a Popeyes video right next to like people
Don't be offensive
starving.
with hunger.
Right.
Go
Yeah.
get
People
some
are
Popeyes.
starving. You pulled out of like rubble in Haiti, and then you show like a Popeyes, like commercial. Like, come on.
Well, and I think Turf's also coming from that point of view where it would be more understandable if YouTube had a good reputation among people, but just with the way they do things and the lack of reputation they have, it'll be interesting to see how I guess this works out or what details we're not being told about how they're going to do things. But I don't know, for the smaller channels too, I guess you also have to consider Patreon or whatever is becoming more popular as well, especially after the apocalypse stuff. So
yeah.
But then again, I also saw a thing on there as well where for some of those sort of sites, now they're changing how they do like subscriptions for people and how they're passing along those expenses. And, so times are changing.
Oh yeah. I could definitely say, I know Turf is saying I have a lot more faith in YouTube than he does. I can say this honestly, Turf, from work experience. It has zero to do with faith in YouTube and everything to do with understanding advertisers. Right now, the biggest fear that advertisers have with user-generated content is the fear that their brands will be associated with user-generated content that they can't control. It's a completely different paradigm from television. With television, everything that went on there, maybe you had public access, but even public access had to meet certain criteria, still had to go through like a studio and a vetting process. YouTube and Facebook Live and Twitter, all this, like really truly, YouTube can ask and plead and set up guidelines to try to filter its audience. But I think as we're seeing with folks like Alpha Omega Sin and all that kind of stuff, like YouTube cannot effectively censor and filter content from generated by users yet. And because they can't do that, they very much have to be careful in terms of, I think what you're seeing is already them responding to pressure from advertisers of, we don't want to see our content associated with the following. And YouTube's looking at that, and a bunch of other vendors, YouTube's not the only one, a bunch of other vendors are looking at that going, how the hell do I guarantee that some guy game streaming doesn't just stand up and drop his pants mid-show. I guarantee you that would go viral. I can also guarantee you that every single advertiser that was showing some advertisement on top of that video would call up YouTube's folks that are running the ad campaign and say, we need to have a serious talk right now. And oh, by the way, any money of ours that you haven't spent on advertising, we want that money back because we're going to go advertise somewhere else. Because the damage to their brand of being associated with that kind of content would be so great. And with some of these things, like, I mean, you look at the cost of a YouTube Red subscription or things like that, right? Dude, 100 people leaving YouTube Red is nothing compared to BMW saying we will never advertise on YouTube again and just getting up and walking away. I mean, we're talking multiple, in the best case, tens of thousands of dollars. In the worst case, double-digit millions of dollars being lost by just a single person, a single ad, right, provider, right, getting up and saying, like, pull our ads. We don't want to be on this platform. And so YouTube has to have some kind of way to rein it in. And I think this is just one of the many. I think the first step that you saw was earlier last year with them issuing the guidelines, right? Like, look, we're not going to advertise. We're not going to let you monetize if there's swearing, if there's this, if there's that. And they start yellow dollar signing people's content, right? Based on what's in the descriptions, based on what they auto sense from like voice detection and everything in the actual, show. I think this next step is, okay, take out the outliers, people who, if they go viral, it was probably for the wrong reasons. And it's probably not something that you would want to. Yes, you can write an algorithm to, hey, the video is climbing like this, attach ads. But the damage to YouTube of losing advertisers because they attach to the wrong thing, I think would be greater than the amount of money that they could potentially make from the ads. So I think that maybe earlier they might have done that, but I think they've kind of learned their lesson. So I think we can expect more. I guess the short version is I think we can expect more things like this from YouTube. This is clearly a move in my mind. This is clearly a move from them to kind of protect their advertising space and keep it clean, and not necessarily them trying to like cater to, content creators or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I know we are going over our time here, so if you have
Yep.
any last thoughts real quick before we wrap that up. I know we still got comments going.
Yeah, we do. We do. Hopefully, I mean, I'm very strongly opinionated, but it's because I kind of, I some of the work that I do is in that space. So I understand the dynamics. I understand what's going on for some of that stuff behind the scenes, maybe deeper than a gamer, right? Ought to understand it. But I think I get where they're coming from and why. So, and for me personally, it doesn't affect me. I'll have the show either way, guys. Like whether I have 2 subscribers or 20, 1,000, I'll still be doing the show. Turf wants to know as we wrap up. I might as well tell you guys why are we all on so early. Some folks have had some change ups in their employment and in their life situations, and so in order to try to accommodate that, we almost had Jeremy on the show again, but he got called into work. So Jeremy, we miss you, buddy. But the move to 7:00, 7:30 is an effort for us to kind of bring back some of the original crew, the original cast there, for you guys. So I think Kyle, right? That was the reason you were able to be here.
Yeah, and I know Lizzie was going to be here, but she had something pop up too. So
Texas
hopefully,
is having
maybe.
ice storms.
Yeah, we had some ice too earlier, but Texas getting it is obviously a lot different.
Living together, it's like the end of times. The end of times. Retro Sports Gamer says, I don't think people that watch YouTube videos associate ads with the content. They just see them or skip them and move on. It's always been sort of a crapshoot. While Retro Sports Gamer, I do agree with you in that sentiment. I think the problem is that the people with the ads to sell don't see it the same way. So it's not so much a user seeing it and going, "Oh wow, Budweiser endorses right Haiti earthquakes." I don't think anybody thinks that way, but I think it's more of like Budweiser going, "Hey, wait a minute, like we don't want to be perceived as capitalizing on folks wanting to know what's going on with Haiti being leveraged to sell our product." right? So it's not necessarily that the advertiser is worried that they'll be seen as endorsing the activity so much as they're afraid of negative publicity that they'll get for making money, right? And building brand based on the backs of tragedy or things that are not like, are popular but not something socially acceptable. So it's more like that. It's more of a precautionary measure. If they want to be the better person and say, look, we don't need to make money by advertising on top of hurricane relief footage. We don't need that. So um so yeah, and in a way it's kind of a commendable, right? When you look at it that way, it's kind of a commendable position for a company to have, because they could easily do like what Turf said and just say like, hey, look, if it's hot, advertise the hell on top of that stuff. So I think it's kind of nice that internet is evolving as a platform. Even the advertising portion of it is evolving to where advertisers are going, what is really responsible for us to do? Yeah, we want to make profits, but we don't so much want to make profits that we got to be jerks about it. Unfortunately, I think that's going to manifest itself in other ways, like YouTube tightening up certain policies and trying to do things to make sure that they're cultivating and curating content that's more compatible with what the advertisers want to see their stuff attached to. So it's really more of what the advertisers want to see related to their product, and not so much what the customers relate to their product, if that makes sense. So customer may not have a problem, but advertiser still very much might. So folks, we really appreciate lively discussion in the chat, highly unrelated to gaming. Maybe that's why we don't have a lot of gamers subscribing to the show. But if you know gamers that are interested in other topics, we're always going to try to veer away from things like politics and things like that. But we're open to talking about certain issues and certain things, especially as they apply maybe to gaming, or they apply to social media, the medium that we're in. So we're always open to going off on a tangent and exploring it with you guys and seeing what your thoughts are as well. I appreciate everybody that commented, whether you agree with me or not. Mine is just one take. I'm certainly not the authoritative figure on it. Kyle, super great to see you on the show, my friend.
Good to be back. Thank you.
So we're going to go ahead and turn in for the night. I agree, Retro Sports Gamer, the internet should be free and open. That said, I do think somewhere we're going to have to find a balance between being free and open and being responsible. If the internet devolves into a bunch of, folks sharing D-pics and, bullying each other, I'm probably going to sign off the internet for good. So I think somewhere in there, I'm absolutely right with you that there should be, parts of the internet that remain free and open. But I don't necessarily know that I don't know that YouTube necessarily has to provide a free service to us that is without any form of restriction. I think it is okay for them to figure out how they can monetize that and how they can make that sustainable as a business. And we should be free to find other alternatives, right? Maybe we go to Vimeo, maybe we go to Mixer, right? Maybe we go to Mixer. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face. But who knows? So catch you guys next week, probably around the same time. But we'll send out a notification on the Facebook and on the Twitters so that you can be sure. All right. Take care.